You're listening to Cinema IRL, the podcast that throws you into the movie and asks the question, what would you do? Growing pains, skateboarding mishaps and teen drama hit hard in Didi. Join Amber and Scott as they unpack a bumpy ride through adolescence and family chaos with a large helping of nostalgia. And now, Cinema IRL.
I wish I could switch places for just one day.
If you find yourself in the unique position,
what would you do?
Put yourself in my shoes.
How do we handle this?
What would you do?
What would you do?
How do you want to handle this?
What would you do? Put yourself in my position.
What would you do?
Now it's your turn.
This film made me nostalgic as hell.
It sure did. It was a period piece set in 2008. So during the last month of summer before high school begins, an impressionable 13-year-old Taiwanese American boy learns what his family can't teach him. And that was our main character, Didi.
I guess it would be 2008. It was that very short crossover period where you might check your Facebook and then check your MySpace.
Yes, because he was definitely on both. And we saw, when you talk about nostalgia, we definitely saw him looking on people's MySpace wall and friending each other, and also to the chats that they used from 2008, those very primitive early chats.
The AOL Instant Messenger.
Yes, that's what it was.
And that's what I'm trying to think is, was that really still a thing in 2008? I think it might have been right near the end of it, because I know it died off a little bit around there. Hell, I remember at one point that I had my name and my partner had, oh yeah, you know what? It must have been because my partner had her name, but then literally we had an account that was on the phone that was supposed to be able to like reach either of us if needed to. Like, people knew we were business owners, so people sometimes needed to get in touch with us. And the Instant Messenger name was named after a ship in Magic the Gathering because it's the traveling thing. So yeah, I guess it really was. There were so many references in that movie that just made me go, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And what we do is, although the movie's called Didi, we don't hear him called Didi a lot. His name is Chris Wang.
Yeah, I think like one.
Yeah, it was. I'm not sure that was really appropriately named, but we follow him during the summer before high school. So he has his friend group, primarily of 2 or 3 guys that he seems to have a long history with, and they have a falling out because one of the guys, they're kind of like, I'm not sure if it's a double date, but the 2 guys are with 2 girls, and Chris tells a story that just makes them look like immature boys.
Yeah, Chris was definitely awkward.
He was.
But then again, find me a 13-year-old that isn't.
Exactly, very true. So the guy he's with is kind of horrified. He tells the story, and the girls are completely repulsed. And as they leave where they are, his friend, the guy friend, basically says, I'm going with the 2 girls, their mom's picking them up, and Chris starts to go with them, and his friend says, oh, there's not enough room in the car for you, and leaves him standing there awkwardly and says, you can take the bus and meet us, which basically he's blown off. So this is the catalyst for Chris feeling ostracized from his friend group and trying to find other friends over the summer before high school starts.
Yeah, and he got inventive with it to a point. Like, he had a lot more hubris than I think the average 13-year-old would have. Like, because you could tell he liked skating and skating videos and stuff like that, but he didn't really know how to do it. And then he meets these people who are good, and he just all of a sudden he's like, I can film. I'm a skate filmer.
Which he isn't, which we learn later on.
Yeah, we learn later on that he,
But he goes home and he immediately starts Googling like how to be a skate photographer.
Like, he was like, I've said that I could do this. Now I'm going to teach myself to do this. And I mean, he got decent at it, but there were a couple of times where he finally got exposed as, you could only bullshit this one for so long until eventually they're like, you
don't know what you're doing, do you?
F that one up.
And the guys that he had met for skateboarding were older guys.
Yeah.
And so he was kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm in with these cooler group of skateboarders who are a little bit older. And he was out of his element. They went to a party once and he just didn't know what to do. But he was doubling down on like...
Didn't he eat a cigarette or something like that at one point?
Yeah, but he had done that trick before with his other friend group. So he...
A trick.
Yeah, he was basically in a pond with the big fish and trying to stay afloat.
Yeah. You typically eventually get exposed.
Yeah, because there was a big scene, and one of the skateboarding guys with the security guard, and then he did this great skateboarding trick. And of course, Chris, being the photographer, was supposed to have captured the video of this, and we realize he didn't, and they're kind of angry with him, and that relationship falls apart.
Oh, that relationship fell apart immediately. Like as soon as they realized that he didn't have the shot, like, why are we keeping this guy around?
Exactly. The other part, too, when you talk about being an awkward 13-year-old, is there's a girl he likes. And he talks to her a little on MySpace, and they have an encounter sitting outside one evening. And she plays this game saying, are you nervous? Yeah. So touching him in different places, touching his arm. Are you nervous? Touching his neck. Are you nervous?
So as a 48-year-old guy, I can look at that and realize that this is the girl's way of hitting on him. Right?
Yeah.
Clearly. But let me tell you, even older than him, Scott at 16, let me tell you, that would have made me nervous as hell.
Yeah. Things used to be so much simpler, but also so much more intimidating when you don't have that life experience under your belt.
Like, I dated this girl for a while before I even ever kissed her, because I'd never kissed someone. And I literally was like, I'm scared of doing this. I think the fear was that I would do it wrong.
And they explore that in the movie too, is he's watching YouTube videos trying to figure out how to kiss. And I don't know about you, but I didn't have YouTube videos to teach me how to kiss.
Nope. YouTube, not a thing. I'm not figuring that one out that way.
It's an interesting exploration about a friend group, a peer group, and what happens when you're no longer part of it, or they do something to make you feel like you're not a part of it. And that's how Chris felt, is when they said there's not room in the car. Is that just threw him for a loop, saying, okay, well, gee, I guess I'm not important, I'm not valued, I'm going to go find friends elsewhere. And it's not easy to do. I mean, I think you and I have had some conversations about how even as an adult, it gets harder and harder to make friends.
Oh, not even as an adult, especially as an adult.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the thing too. Like, in a way, he was actually stuck in the adult trap, in that it's the summer between, well, for one, it's summer. So you have your people you hang out with, but you don't have the people you're going to class with all the time to make those new friendships. Like, you have who you have. And if something happens, then you're mostly screwed unless you find some dudes that want to go skateboarding. But yeah, no, it's...
And he didn't even skateboard.
I mean, I think
he was always running behind the skateboarders.
Yeah, well, no, he skateboarded a little, but you could tell, like, he was ridiculously novice. Like, he was trying to just, like, seem mild. Like, dude couldn't do a trick to save his life. He's just basically on the board. Because we caught him in the garage at one point trying to mess around with stuff like that. Like you can tell he had, like, novice level, which is probably more skills than I have. I'd kill myself on a skateboard.
So in that case, what would you do? Because I think that we don't have room in the car. I think that was really foundational to the whole rest of the film and the exploration of Chris Wang trying to get through the summer.
Yeah. We don't have room in the car. If you translate that into 13-year-old, it's, hey, F you.
Yeah, that's...
I mean, it was clear. Like, it was very clear what was actually being said, and that every person there knew exactly what was said.
You're not welcome.
Well, it wasn't even so much that the friend said that we don't have room. It was one of the girls whose parents were picking them up who said, we don't have room. And it was a point where the friend could have spoken up to, like, back his friend.
Or said, I'm going to hang back. You know what? If there's not room for Chris, we'll both walk over together or something like that. Like, he didn't have to leave Chris hanging, but he chose to. And that's the point where you really realize where you stand with someone, because are they going to stay with you or are they going to ditch you? And wow, when you're a teenager, the feeling of being ditched is just the deepest, darkest feeling.
I mean, that's the thing is like when you're that age, like I guess in a way your rep is unless you have one of two things. You either have money or you have your rep. And that's, if you don't have money, you need rep. If you have money, you can buy it, basically. But he had just told this incredibly embarrassing story, and rep can shoot up and shoot down in nearly a moment's notice. So in that moment, his rep was sunk through the floor. And so if he sides with him, he's basically socially suiciding with the girl. And he's got to be sitting there thinking, listen, dude, you told that story. That's on you. I didn't make you tell that story.
Have you ever done something like that? Divulged something or told a story or shared too much information that anyone around you might have been horrified with?
I'm sure I have. I can't think of anything to my... Okay, I can't tell whether or not I've done it unintentionally. I know I've done it intentionally. I've absolutely done it intentionally. Usually because I think that whatever it is not that big of a deal. Like somebody's overblowing it. So I'm deciding what their feeling should be. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying what has happened in my past. But yeah, I mean, you're 13.
Or even the dynamic of having to find a new friend group. I know lots of people experience degrees of this when you change jobs. Like you have your work friends, and the work friends are the ones you have lunch with and the ones you go grab coffee with. And a lot of people, your work friends are a really important friend group to you. Some people not so much, but some people, like your work friends are your people. And when you leave and you start another job and you have to start fresh with a new group of friends, that can be really tough. I mean, making friends is such a challenging thing to do. And when you look at when you were a teenager, I mean, I remember as a teen when I had to go to a new high school, and you had people who had been in school with each other for 8+ years. And the number of us who joined in 9th grade were few and far between. And it was really hard to make friends in a group of people who had been together for so long.
Oh, trust me, I know. I moved from Georgia to Texas between 8th and 9th grade.
Okay.
So I had to start off fresh. Matter of fact, one of the friends I made, a friendship I still have to this day, was someone who, like me, I mean, both our parents were military. We both had moved there. We didn't really have other people. So we actually found a common bond early.
Right.
Over the fact that we didn't have any common bonds with anyone.
Right. And sometimes that is enough. Like if you were the new kid and there's another new kid, you glom onto each other because you got to help each other. Like, where is this and how does this work and who's that? And
so there's another avenue of this movie that we haven't even gone down yet. And I'm going to open with a story before we get to it. So I'm the oldest of 5, but for the purposes of this story, when I refer to my brother, I'm referring to the one who's just below me, about 18 months younger than me. And he and I don't get along. Like he wrote a book, quote unquote, that was titled "When I'm 6, I'll Get Scott."
And how old was he when he wrote this book?
I think 5.
Okay, so it was a short-term goal.
I mean, it was a 20% more age. I mean, it was huge for him.
Yeah.
He might have been 4. I don't know. But like,
making 1-year goals when you're 5 years old,
yeah,
that's probably a good.
Yeah, I remember he was going to put things on the top shelf where I couldn't reach them.
Oh wow!
He was brutal. But and as you know, at age 48, he and I still don't get along. Like, we can tolerate each other in certain circumstances, but he's far from my best friend. But
so relating this to the movie,
yes, he and I squabbed and we fought all the freaking time. I mean, to the point once my dad tried to give us both knives and told us to go in the backyard and finish it.
That's lovely.
Yeah. Thank you, Dad. I could screw with him, but if somebody else screwed with him, well, there was one time on the bus as we were going. We were both on the same bus at that point.
Isn't that kind of foundational to sibling relationships? And I'm going to I've certainly seen and heard and read about that, is that's not an uncommon feeling. And I have to ask you and phrase it this way because I'm an only child. So
I'm trying to remember how old I was. I'm pretty sure I was 11. I think I was 10. I know I was 10. We had been taught Taekwondo, so I was obviously a badass. This guy was on the bus screwing with my brother, and I was having none of it. I went to use my Taekwondo. I did a flying sidekick at the guy while the bus was braking. My foot went into his mouth. I literally sent that dude to the orthodontist because he's my family. I can screw with. Now these days, pretty much, if other people want to screw with him, he's not 8 or 9 anymore. He can take care of himself if he.
So tie this back to the film for folks.
His sister, at the beginning of the movie, they fought and they fought and they fought and they fought. I mean, like screaming at each other. You could tell they could not freaking stand each other. But eventually she saw what had happened to him, how he'd been ostracized out from his friend group, and essentially, if you will, picking on him or screwing with him. And that was the time that she actually came around. I mean, she tried to at first basically play it off like, oh, okay, well, whatever. I mean, I'm sure I can do this.
She started being nice to him.
She started actually being nice. I mean,
let me give you a ride. Call me if you need anything.
Yeah, I mean, and you could tell there was about a 4-year age difference. She was like 4 because he was
13 and she was going off to college.
Yeah, she was going off to college. So roughly 4-ish years between them. So it was very interesting seeing that dynamic. And then, I mean, I guess in a way I've answered the what would you do by my initial story.
Yeah. Because
if have a sibling and they're being screwed with, I'm gonna buck up. I'm gonna defend them. It was nice to see that. It was very interesting seeing the family relationships that he had. How the relationship with the parents started well, then got really, really strained, and then kind of came back around near the end, because when you're 13, you think your parents are the worst. But you need to see something that triggers with you that shows that they really do have your best interests at heart, because you don't realize that in the moment. So.
Well, and I'm going to have to trust you on that, since sibling relationships are not my strong point.
Well, that wasn't sibling. That was his relationship with his mom. But you also had an amazing relationship with your mom.
Yeah.
I mean, so.
I guess the sibling part of it resonated with you because that hit home. I guess the part that resonated most with me is just be a friend that always has room in the car.
We hope you enjoyed our episode. Thank you for listening. And to catch all the new episodes, please subscribe. We release 2 to 3 episodes weekly, so we'll have new content regularly. Until next time.